Good afternoon, ambassadors. My name is Rocio Gunther, and I'm originally from Guadalajara, Mexico. Professionally, I serve as the Director of Constituent Services for Mayor Ron Nierenberg in San Antonio, Texas. It might surprise you, but I'm actually not going to talk about my day job for this session. Today, I'm actually going to talk about that one time I learned how powerful civic engagement can truly be when you come together with like-minded individuals who are also passionate about the same things you are and itching to make a difference. For context, I'm an avid cyclist here in San Antonio, and I love taking our greenway trails and riding the streets. So I enjoy talking about public policy as it relates to transportation and how we can dream up ways to become a less car-centric city. First slide. So in 2019, I joined a local leadership program to become more engaged in my community here in San Antonio. For 6 months, everyone accepted to this program was divided up into action groups, and we were given a challenge to start a project around a particular subject. Here is where I met Robbie, Domingo, Marlene, and Mike, and we were all tasked to tackle transportation. Next slide. Right off the bat, we knew that San Antonio had a long way to go when it came to multimodal transportation options. Our bus system is underfunded, cyclists keep getting killed on the streets. At the time, it seemed like people were not getting involved with local government and demanding better. Moreover, it seemed like a lot of people weren't even informed about local issues in their backyard regarding transit. Fun fact, not so fun, kind of daunting, but San Antonio is actually expecting 1 million new residents by the year 2040. And what that means is gridlock, especially if we don't plan accordingly and if we don't invest in our transit system with a future-proof lens. Cyclists have also been clamoring for more safety and things like protected bike lanes in our streets. But not all was bad news. We also knew that San Antonio and Bexar County had invested tons of money on a state-of-the-art greenway trail system that traverses most of the city boundary, meaning that cyclists and walkers had a way to get around safely and enjoy physical activity outdoors. However, not a lot of people kind of knew about this wonderful asset either and the plans for expanding it in the future. So I came together with my teammates and we talked extensively and we said, how can we, just 5 people, do something to change that and get people more involved? That's when the idea for ReadySeiko was born. We created our own civic engagement organization focused on activating the San Antonio community to engage in discussions about our local transit system and how we could push for a better San Antonio. The mission was to gather, educate, and activate. 3 simple words. I mean, that was our compass. That was leading the way. Next slide. Then we thought, well, not everyone shows up to City Hall and not everyone is interested in joining a board or a commission. It's hard to get people to even come out to public meetings and participate. So why don't we host our own conversations and invite those politicians and other local leaders involved in policymaking, but make it fun, informal, and not stuffy or taking place in a boardroom or in a government building? So my team and I, we were actually discussing all of this at a brewery when we had a beer in our hands, and we looked at each other and I thought right away, hey, this is the light bulb moment right here. So I said, why don't we just host community discussions all across the city, but let's do it at local breweries. And that way we'll support local businesses and we'll inform people about something new, right? This is an environment where people can learn something new and try a local beer. So that's how our event series called Transit on Tap was born. Next slide. So during the year 2019 and the start of 2020, right before the pandemic hit, we were able to host 8 events in different parts of town. Not knowing what to expect, we were shocked that people heard about our event, that they showed up in large numbers. And this truly showed us that people wanted to learn. They wanted to be involved. And yes, they are passionate about transit too. Sometimes you just need to bring the conversation to their neighborhoods. This, plus thinking of innovative ways to bring people into the fold. In 1 year alone, we had more than 450 people show up to all of our events. Next slide. Our events at these breweries became so successful that San Antonio Startup Week invited our team to put together panel discussions in the tech district for a transit track in their lineup. For all our events, we invited council members, cycling leaders in the community, tech CEOs, public servants, experts in the field, and more. The audience, people attending the brewery by chance, and residents who saw the events advertised on Facebook and who decided to simply show up. Up next slide. We're going to show a video recap of one of our many panel discussions at one of the local breweries in San Antonio. Awesome, thank you. Next slide. So as you saw in the video, residents were just out having a beer, they were networking, they were having a good time. You know, we tried to make it fun. We had swag, we made t-shirts, we invited other local organizations to kind of come in and promote the work that they're doing. Organizations like SA 2020, they were doing a survey at the time. We gave people tables so that they could bring their brochures and also, you know, make sure that we could activate other people to get involved in other initiatives currently happening at the city. We even had our leaders in our bus system bring brochures about an election coming up to get more transit money. So we brought a lot of people together at these events. And this picture that you see right here, it's me with those teammates that I mentioned earlier. Domingo to my left, Mike to my right, and Marlene and Robbie. We met at a leadership program. We didn't even know each other. And after we graduated, we said, this was just a pitch idea, but let's actually do this. We were scared. We didn't know if people were going to show up. We didn't know if our events were going to be a flop. We were like, well, are people really as passionate about transit as we are? You know, but clearly people showed up, and whether they realized it or not, simply by coming there and having a beer and meeting new people and, you know, getting informed about what's happening locally, they were participating in civic engagement, all those people at these breweries. And some of the titles of our events at the breweries included the following. We had How Tech is Disrupting the Transit Fabric in Cities, San Antonio's bus system today and tomorrow. Another topic was the economic benefits of multimodal infrastructure, and then even leveraging transit to advance equity. That and a lot more. Next. Oh, this is the last slide, sorry. Our attendees got to learn more about our challenges and our successes, right? So our plans for the future, our collective dreams for like a truly multimodal city, a place that doesn't just solely rely on a car to get around from point A to point B. Remember our 3 words when we put together our mission for our organization? I said gather, educate, and activate, right? Residents gathered at the brewery. They were educated on local transit happenings, and this later activated them to continue being involved and work for change. So as you can see, it all starts with an idea or a dream. It can be small, it can be in your neighborhood or your city. when you think globally, you have to remember that the first step is to start fighting for change at the local level. And if you're surrounded by passionate people who also want to make a difference, the opportunities are there if you just come together. Here's another example, right? If you talk to Ingrid Harp, the founder of this forum, it started with an idea that she envisioned when she was only a student at her university. She came together with her friends to put WAF together, and look where it is now. Look where she has taken this movement. It's global now. And what started out as an on-campus initiative has now gone worldwide. And technology has allowed all of us today to connect in different parts of the world. We have more than 200 ambassadors representing 80 different countries. How inspiring is that, right? So my advice to everyone watching and everyone that heard the story of ReadySeiko, some little thing that we did here in our city at the local level, is something that just comes straight from the words of Mahatma Gandhi, and that is, you must be the change you want to see in the world. In other words, we do not have to rely on politicians, on mayors, or presidents to do something we want to see happen in the places where we live. And sometimes we just have to take things into our own hands when we want change. And all we have to do is act and take that first step, no matter how small of a step that may be. And yeah, that's my spiel for today. I'm seeing all the comments and it's great. Oh, there's somebody else from Guadalajara. Hey there. There was a moment where citizens were opposed, actually. I'm looking at the questions. Not fully, but there were some people that were like, why are you investing in infrastructure for bikes? You know, they don't follow the rules and it's full of cars. So, you know, you had some people that would push back. But that's part of the democratic dialogue, right? You want people to push back. You want them to ask questions. So it's interesting, right? You're going to get both sides, but that's part of being civically engaged. You hear both sides. You see what the community wants. You're there to hear their opinions too. You know, you have these panelists at these events at the brewery, but then residents get an opportunity to, you know, have a Q&A with everyone there. So they get to ask their questions. They get to get into a little bit of a debate. So it's just really, really cool. And you can take anything, right? It can be as simple as, you know, starting a recycling program at your office. You know, I think that's something that's on the Women Ambassadors website, and that's part of the meaning for what it means to be a first generation activist. These are little things that you can do, right? It can go from like just, you know, starting a recycling program, you know, in your office, to starting it in your community, or to hosting conversations at breweries about transit and inviting those politicians and saying, hey, these people are here. Are you going to show up or not? Because they're ready to talk and they want to participate, right? So that's just my little spiel. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So yeah, feel free to connect on LinkedIn, Twitter. Thanks for the opportunity, y'all.